Good morning. It's Thursday, and everybody's going to be here today. We've got George, the Godfather, and we have Sean on this morning.
Hey, Sean.
Good morning.
Good morning, Sean.
How's everybody doing?
Hanging in there.
Yeah, everybody's doing good. Good. What are you guys doing?
Everybody fell asleep in the chat. Where's everybody?
You know what? It's funny you mentioned a chat. I said 3 things in there, and I have my other screen up, and I can't see my name that comes up, which is weird.
I don't see you.
Yeah, I'm going to say hello again.
I'm looking at the chat.
And ML Heath just said, Trixie, Sean Lucas, and George. I just said something underneath. Let's see if it's in there. Oh, there it is. Now it's working. I don't know why it wasn't working. I got chat issues. I think my chat is redacted more than the first Kennedy files.
You know you're running for office. That's why.
Yeah. Well, we got Ann Elizabeth for Moms for Liberty today, but I'm waiting for her to show up, and we'll bring her on when she does show up. But I haven't seen her come on yet, so that's who's going to be on today. But I'm going to go ahead and do like what we usually do and open up with prayer and see where we go with that. How's that sound? So this one's called the snake line. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. And that's Isaiah 40:31. And what it is we cannot escape the presence of the serpent of this world, but we can take authority over him in the name of Jesus. Our feet are planted on this earth for a reason. Behold, I have given you authority to tread on serpents and scorpions and over all the power of the enemy, and nothing shall hurt you. Luke 10:19. And that is just that no matter what's in your path or anything like that, with God, you'll be able to conquer anything. And
Amen.
So, amen. So that's good, huh? So anybody watch about that FBI agent that got arrested last night?
No, I missed it. What happened?
All I got was just that they arrested him last night, and it was really late. It was like midnight, so I don't know what's going on, but there's probably something to watch today and find out what was going on. But there was something he did something, obviously, but he was involved in, I think it was something with
I wonder if that's the one that was the leak. The guy could have been.
Yes, that's it. That's it. It was the leaker. It was the guy that leaked. Yeah, they got him. They got him last night, but it was really late, so there wasn't much information on it.
This 47 team is going to be much different than the 45 team. You're not going to have these crazy leaks like you had before. I mean, you probably will, but you're not. They're going to be. What? They're going to be, held accountable. These people.
There's plenty of leftovers. That's the problem. Plus, you got the rhinos that are in there also. That they gotta clean them all out. Cash and Bongino do that. Yeah, little by little. Yeah. That's why he did. That's why Cash did a direct line to Trump.
Well, yeah. You can't have the leaking like that. That's not good.
Yeah, absolutely.
She just dropped off her kids. She's gonna get on soon. So.
Okay.
I'm excited to meet her. She's a friend of mine that's involved with some drug addiction issus. Knows her, and my friend Kevin was actually there that day, right with the picture up there. So I'm looking forward to meeting her.
Okay, yeah, that's the one for the meeting at the DOJ. This picture right here, correct?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I thought too. But okay, I can see she's in here, so I'm going to bring her on. But
all right.
Huh? Her name's Ann Elizabeth, and she's with Moms for Liberty. Georgia, do you want to say something?
I said she also spoke at the Republican convention.
Yeah, you could. Yeah.
Yes, I remember that speech.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Okay. Good morning, Ann.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Thank you for joining us today. Would you like to say a little bit about yourself so everybody kind of gets an idea of what you're involved with?
Yes. First of all, thank you for having me. Hi, George. How are you? Well, my name is Ann Fedner, and I have been in a fight against fentanyl for 3 years now since my son died. And I've just been trying to spread awareness about these fake pills that kids take and educate people on the dangers of taking anything that you don't know who it came from, because these kids are taking things that are supposed to be one thing and they're actually pure fentanyl, and it's it's wiping out a whole generation. 500,000 Americans dead due to the fentanyl crisis. So I am now educating people on the fentanyl crisis.
And tell everybody how important your message was with Trump.
Well, I was given the opportunity. There's so many people who have lost children. Again, 500,000 people when the Biden-Harris administration opened up the borders and let everybody flood over the border, whoever wanted to come here. It exacerbated the fentanyl crisis. And my son was a casualty of that crisis that could have been prevented. Because if my son had taken what he thought was a Percocet, he'd still be alive today. But our kids can no longer learn from their mistakes. They die from them. So President Trump, knowing how important the border issue is, and he really is a very caring person who cares about our youth. That's his first and foremost, I guess his fight for everything is just the safety and well-being of Americans. So, of course, the angel moms, grab his heart because he's a compassionate person who truly does care. He wanted to, secure the borders for America and deal with the cartels in China and everybody that's a part of this fentanyl crisis. So it's obviously very important for President Trump, and he's doing a lot. Already we've seen a 98% reduction in border crossings. He's put people like Tom Homan, Kristi Noem, Attorney General Pam Bondi in the right places to be able to fight this issue. So he's doing all the things that need to be done, and he's not done yet. He's going to be dealing with something called the de minimis loophole, which he started to do, but because of packages backing up at the ports, we have to do it in a step process, but that's in the works. That's where packages can come over here from China unchecked under $800, and people are sending fentanyl through the mail through that process because they know it won't get checked if it's under $800. So that's going to be changed soon. Companies like Temu and Shein, which are somewhat social media driven, those companies, people can just put a block of fentanyl in and claim its value under $800, and next thing you know, it's going to someone's doorstep unchecked. So that's something that is definitely in the works. Again, he did try to executive order that one, but it started piling up in the ports. So it is a step process that we are working on, or he is working on. But there's so much that behind the scenes that are just the things that, as a fentanyl fighting community for years, we never thought of, such as tariffs. I mean, what an incredible weapon that has been for the fight against fentanyl, for Canada to get its pop-up labs under control, and Mexico to get the cartels under control, and China to shut down the 150,000 employees that work in these precursor chemical fentanyl factories.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's no price. Well, people can complain that their bread might be 25 cents more after living through the Biden-Harris administration, where people couldn't even afford to eat. They now have a problem with tariffs that are saving human lives on American soil. I just think it's extremely hypocritical. The tariffs are an incredible tool to get things under control. And that's something that we never thought about. That it's just one more thing where President Trump is an outside of the box thinker that just, he knows how to play the global game. If you're not going to do this, we're going to do this. And he's incredible. And we're so grateful.
Chess. He plays chess, right?
Yep.
Yeah, who would really think about tariffs, though? I mean, that's not something that you would think about every day because it really doesn't affect you very much, but it does end up being a really good weapon to really take that down, especially like with Temu, because Temu, I mean, that really exploded. And you wonder if it exploded because people are really buying things or it's the drugs coming in. You really don't know until that happens.
Yeah, well, Sumo, I've never bought anything from it. I don't
me
really
either.
know anyone who has, but I wouldn't even know. I wouldn't even personally. It doesn't seem like a website that I would trust very much, but I don't know much about it.
Yeah, I see ads all the time on social media for it, right? And it seems like it pops up through that. And
Yeah,
it's like that advertising because maybe you're talking about something, and then bam, there's something up with for Timo
Something.
for it. But yeah,
Yeah.
definitely something that came on the scene very quickly.
Yeah, it did. And it's like this spinning wheel. And you click on it going, wow, that looks really neat. What is it? You click on it and you get a spinning wheel, and it's just, yeah, I have Amazon. If I want something, I can just order it from Amazon. I don't see what the difference is other than it's coming from China. It's going to take 2 weeks longer. But yeah, that's how these packages, the de minimis loophole, it's called, they're getting over here just through the Temu, Shein, other companies that ship things that just declare things under an $800 value. It's that easy. No, under $800.
I
think of what's coming through there.
I think the big factor with the Angel Moms, and especially you, and with helping President Trump getting elected with the border problems with these fentanyl coming over.
So and I remember your speech at the RNC that you gave, and that was very touching, and absolutely. So, what you've been through with your son, I wouldn't, I can't even imagine. I'm a father too. We have a similar friend in the fight. My friend Kevin Mira from New Jersey. He was at the DOJ when you were last week.
Oh, okay.
And he knows who you are, and he does a City of Angels up here in New Jersey.
Wow.
It's the stuff that you guys have been through. I couldn't even imagine. But you know what? We thank you for having the strength and perseverance and the faith to fight the way you guys are and get the message out. I didn't even realize that was Percocets. And I mean, how many young kids go, "Oh, it's just a perk. It's just a perk." And you know, to bring that out, I think is huge, because so many people don't even, they think it's just like, they think it's like a Tylenol almost.
It's the same thing like in college, they're studying for their tests and they go and buy an Adderall off the street and there's a little bit of fentanyl in it and they die just because they were trying to cram for, exams and stuff. And it happens all the time. And it's so sad too when that happens, because there is no reason for it. And they've done it innocently. It's not, some people do it, the street stuff because they can fake it and make it look exactly like what's the real prescription. So just even taking one like that, you just don't know what you're getting. And that's what's so darn dangerous.
Yeah. You can buy the pill. I think Amazon's done a pretty good job of getting the pill presses under control. But at one point you could just buy the pill press on Amazon. It came with the alphabet and different symbols. And it's this little tiny thing and they sell the blue press powder now because people do make their own pills. For other things like vitamins, or maybe if they have whatever reason, their own medicine, they want to press it themselves. But the pill presses shot out the M, on top, the line 30. You put them side by side, you really can't tell the difference. And there's a big misnomer that these pills are getting laced, which is not true. They're not getting laced. They are not the actual pill. You can't break open a pill and stick it back together. It doesn't work. So these are not prescription pills at all. It is blue pressed powder bought from Amazon or a place like that, pressed with a pill press that has fentanyl sprinkled in, and they're not real pills. So, and the fentanyl that they're sprinkling in is not pharmaceutical grade fentanyl. It's the precursor chemicals. It's concentrated. It has no chemical derivatives even close to what you get when you get fentanyl in the hospital. So that's also another misnomer, is that this is actually, people will say, well, I had fentanyl in the hospital. Not the same. Nowhere close. And what happens with college kids and children is that opioid. Now, this was, really the rise of fentanyl came from the Sacklers, which if you've watched, Crime of the Century, Painkiller, Pain Hustlers, Dope Sick, any of those Netflix shows, that you would know about the Sacklers, who came out with oxycodone from an old painkiller that they were marketing that just was going nowhere. All these other pills were coming up. They then took that pill, repackaged it as oxycodone, and put out a disclaimer. Actually, the person who wrote up the literature to support that this was not going to be an addictive quality pill. That was their big thing. That oxycodone can be taken for pain, and it's really basically non-addictive. Most people will never be addicted to it, and it was the most addictive thing. And actually, someone who's running for governor here as a Republican, who's a complete rhino, is Jack Ciattarelli.
Oh, you're in New Jersey too?
Yeah, he actually published the papers that supported the Sacklers' claim that these were basically non-addictive, and he made millions of dollars off of it. So I don't have a lot of respect for Jack Ciattarelli, and I have publicly endorsed, I'm going to say it from here, I've publicly endorsed Bill Spadia for governor because he's going to do a much better job. However, the Sackler family has really given rise to the opioid crisis, because once they cut off all the doctors who were just prescribing this thinking it was an addictive, no big deal, just take it, they cut back on that. A lot of doctors were arrested, pharmacies were getting broken into, and the cartels saw that. They said, and that's what gave rise to the illicit fentanyl epidemic. And because of the demand from people who were coming off of supposedly non-addictive oxycodone, fentanyl came to rise, and it gave way for the cartels to make billions of dollars. But what happens is those people are all opioid dependent. You get a kid who's never had an opioid before, and even a Percocet prescription is a lot for them. They try something that has fentanyl in it. They're opioid naive, and it kills them. And that's why 7 out of 10 of these pills are deadly. So
yeah, and people don't realize how easy it is to make counterfeit pills either. All you need to do is get a physician desk reference with the pill guide in it, and it'll show you exactly what the original should look like with the gram on it, with whatever markings on it, what color it is for the different strengths. And for them to be able to take those pill presses and manufacture that with fentanyl in it, and then be able to pass it off as legitimate. That's, I think, how so many kids get taken, because even if you were smart enough to look at a PDR like that and match that pill up, you would still get fooled. There's no way you would know, unless you tested it. And I think that's really horrible, but it's such a good thing that you're doing that. And I'm so sorry for you, for your son, but I wish there was something really good that could come of it, for you, so that it wasn't in vain. But it's hard. I can't even imagine the heartbreak you went through.
Well, that's what I think the RNC, and just even last week being on stage with President Trump, because my son's saving lives. He didn't die in vain. I was chosen to represent this fight, and I'm incredibly honored to be the mother that they put in front of everyone to introduce this crisis to the world. And that has given my son's life so much purpose. And I think I understood that the moment I put onto the floor of the RNC. And last week was just such an honor to be on stage with President Trump and to be able to thank him for the things that he's doing. And, if anybody was wondering who I was, they would find Weston's story online. And I know he's saving lives. I've had people contact me and tell me how they've had the conversation with their children, or their child was struggling, and because they were able to figure out what to do next. Because if you don't do anything and you don't intervene, it will kill you. When people come to me and say, what do? I found out my son tried something. I say, get him in, 24-hour hold, whatever you need to do. Get him in now, because if you have an appointment for Monday, they're going to try their last hurrah. They need this. It's addictive. They can't stop. They can't stop on their own. It's not their fault. It's rewired their brain. You got to get them in tonight, because tonight it could be their last if you don't. I can't tell you how many kids die waiting for beds to open. You don't realize the severity of fentanyl. It doesn't play. Once you try it, it's not a matter of if you're going to die, it's when, without severe, intense intervention. So there's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot to fentanyl. It's 50 times more addictive than crack. So once you try it one time, within 2 to 3 hours of withdrawal happens. That's fevers, body aches, muscle aches, headaches, shakes, bowel issues. It's nothing like anybody has ever experienced with their worst flu. And now you have a child or a recreational drug user who's not used to this. And that's when the drug dealers swoop in and say, you can't tell your parents. It's a grooming mentality. You can't tell your parents you did this. I'm going to go to jail. You're going to get in trouble. You could see jail time. Just take a little bit more, just a little bit, and we'll ease you off the discomfort. Instead, they're really easing them on. And 2 to 3 weeks, parents are finding their kids dead in their beds because they were trying to figure out how to get off an addiction they're afraid to tell their parents about. So, very
What
evil.
you're saying about the discomfort of like after taking that one time, I'm just going to share this real quick because it really is important. I had surgery, and that's when fentanyl first came out, and they had the fentanyl patches, and they gave me one of them, but they never told me, you know, that you have to step down off of it, or otherwise you're going to go through the withdrawal. I would only had the patch on like 3 days. Took it off over a weekend, and what you're describing about the sweating and the not, it was so bad. I thought I was going to die over the weekend. I am not kidding. It was horrific. And I can see where somebody would go ahead and just say, well, I'm just going to take a little bit more. And then as their tolerance builds up like that, it's so easy to just go right over that line and go on to the other side. But what you're saying, there's so much truth to it, and it is hard, and it's very difficult.
Yeah, that's how they get people addicted to it, and they get people from telling on them. And so now you have this poor kid who just did something to fit in. Now he's trapped, she's trapped, and they don't know how to stop. And it's really disgusting. It's like a sexual predator who, and if you know anything about grooming behaviors, they get the child to do something illegal, whether it's look at a dirty magazine or smoke some pot. And once they do that, then they start, they make them feel like they're cool for doing it. And then all of a sudden they start sexually abusing the child. And then the child says, that they don't want to. And they're like, your parents are going to think you're dirty if you tell them, or you can't tell anyone. And then the sexual abuse continues. There's no difference between that behavior and the behavior of these drug pushers who are doing the same exact thing to your child who is struggling alone, not knowing what to do. And it's incredibly tragic. It is a grooming behavior. And I actually am writing a bill right now in New Jersey and also nationally to legislate against drug groomers, I call them, because it's disgusting. And they're literally sexual predators. Their goal is to keep sexually abusing the child. For drug pushers, their goal is to keep them alive as long as they can until they've used up every last bit of them. And then they don't care if they die. It's really disgusting. It's evil. It's absolutely evil. So I want parents to know that. The biggest thing I want parents to do is talk to their kids, not only about that, to teach them that you always can come to them no matter what, and that it's always best to say no in a social situation, especially if you don't know what you're taking, even if it looks identical to what you've been prescribed in the past, or you hear a buzzword like Percocet that for me, a doctor has tried to prescribe to my son, which of course I said no because he was too young.
Yeah.
But it's important to talk to your kids about peer pressure and give them the courage and strength to say no.
Yeah, absolutely.
The education is very important for the kids, and that with the counseling also. But President Trump said he would like to go after these drug pushers and charge them with a capital punishment for murder, for the men that they killed.
It is murder, and almost all of these are tried as murder. My son's case was a homicide, which went nowhere. It's California. I then said, well, can't you go above that person to stop the chain of command? And they said, we don't do that. But I would like to see capital punishment in this because these are serial killers. They know it's going to end in death, and they're killing every single one of them the same way. And they're speaking your kid's language. It's absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, it's even with these, just the painkillers, how people get addicted to them. I know my son, when he was in high school, had a ACL injury, and he went for surgery, and the painkillers they prescribe and everything. I remember I was giving him the big Tylenol pills, And I would say, "Oh yeah, that's the good stuff." And I would just, that's the good stuff, just because I didn't want them to get used to the stuff and get tied up on it. So.
Yep, absolutely.
But I just got to say real quick, my heart goes out, and I'm sure I know Trixie saw it. I'm not sure if George saw it. Hardman SH, he lost his daughter to some laced pot. I'm not sure when, but he's a member of the chat all the time with us, and my heart and everybody else's heart goes out to your heart. It's tough.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's really messed up, and the amount of education is so important, especially what you're doing as the advocate for the fentanyl awareness and the pain medication that they've been giving out and stuff, and how much they want, like you said, how much they want to addict these people on this stuff. I mean, they killed, what is it, a couple of 100,000 already, right? Yeah. Right.
500,000 under the Biden-Harris administration. Up to 2024, it was already over 300,000, and that was without 2024 being included. And in those numbers isn't the Narcan that have saved lives. Narcan, which is the opioid reversal, which blocks the receptors immediately, and the person comes to. However, it only works about 20% of the time on fentanyl. So there's that, but it is life-saving. Those numbers of how many lives have been saved through Narcan have not been included that would have passed away. So there's also a lot of coroners, if they're drug addicts, they don't include those as fentanyl deaths. They include those as drug addiction deaths. My son's toxicology came back fentanyl, and the way he died, they had it written up as accidental overdose. And my son did not overdose. He did not overdose because he didn't know he was taking it. That would be like you going into a bar, ordering a glass of wine or a drink, and they give you, let's say you order a vodka tonic, and they give you the tonic with cyanide instead of vodka. There is no difference. There is absolutely no difference. And you die. Would they say, oh, well, what? The bartender gave you alcohol, so they basically died from alcohol? No, they didn't. They were poisoned to death. And that's why in the 80s, when the Tylenol crisis with cyanide came out, they pulled it off the shelves, and they were looking for the serial killer who was killing people with cyanide in the Tylenol capsules. He would have gone to jail had they ever found that person, or she would have gone to jail because of poisoning. So tell me how this is an accidental overdose. It would have been had my son taken too many Percocets, and they were actual real Percocets. That would have been an accidental overdose. But this was a quarter, what they believe was a quarter of a little blue pill that said Percocet that was not Percocet, and he died. That is a poisoning. And so we're working to relabel that too. But my point on this whole thing was how many of these deaths have not even been recorded, because coroners, some towns don't even have coroners to draw up the toxicology. Those are never recorded. They're just recorded as, accidental deaths.
It's a murder.
And
it's a murder.
It's murders. But so the number we have, it is murder. The number we have after 2024's numbers, which the provisional numbers that they put out in 2024 for what they suspected was going to be in 2024 was 12% reduction. Now tell me what programs they have put in place for the most addictive poison that they've ever known.
Nothing.
They
haven't done anything.
They haven't done anything. So what would cause that 12% reduction? Nothing. So their provisional numbers were about 12% less than the year before, which were about 113,000. So if that were true, that would still be around another 100,000. It would have been at least 400,000 people dead from fentanyl under Joe Biden. We think it's more like 500,000, but none of our recent wars add up to that number. So this was on American soil. And I think the biggest thing with that is that this is a war. These cartels are not, people in T-shirts that are stained with cigars sticking out of their mouth. They're businessmen making billions of dollars, and that doesn't stop by itself overnight. The borders were still open, everything. This was exacerbated by the Biden administration. I'm not sure if you guys get political on this, but I don't really care because
We do.
it was absolutely,
We welcome it.
that's good. It was absolutely the Biden administration and Kamala Harris, who was the border czar. Her 2021 tweet in March said, Biden appointed me to the border, and she did zero. She had one job. So this could have been all prevented, and it wasn't. It was disgusting.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you something too. They've replaced heroin pretty much with fentanyl. And, you know, that's someone's son, that's someone's daughter. Those people that you see when people post stuff on Facebook and they're very callous, oh, those junkies, you know, look at them, you know, that's someone's child. And I have learned through this fight how these people did not want to get addicted, and maybe they did, but they also don't deserve to be killed by fentanyl because it was in something that they took that they didn't know that they were already addicted to. They're already struggling, and now someone puts fentanyl in that. Some of them go seeking it out because it's cheaper than heroin once they have tried it. And I would even argue that that is still poisoning because it takes such a small amount to kill them. But with 50 times more addictive quality than something like crack, they can't get off of it. No matter how hard they tried, they couldn't without very severe medical intervention. So this is something that is not, they're not doing on purpose. They're doing it because they've been either tricked into doing something or they tried something one time and now they can't stop. And everybody deserves our compassion on this. And those videos, you know, break my heart. I don't see them as, you know, as something that is, you know, laughable or anybody's fault. A lot of times they fault people for it. It's something that they cannot help. And everybody deserves our compassion. We need treatment in this country.
The politicians don't want to take a blame for it, and also especially the Democrats.
Well, they are.
You can see how their attitude is. I mean, how they defend the legal drugs that are going into the sanctuary cities and the liberal states. And
yeah, they want to have They want to give out needles.
Yeah,
look at Philadelphia, right? Yeah, and, you know, it's a horror show over there what they're doing.
It's like everything else. They want to exasperate anything that's going to take down our society. And I can't help but think that with what they're doing to children, sexualizing our children and, you know, forcing children to believe something that can't be true, and with gender ideology, and, you know, forcing people to think that it's fair for boys to compete in girls' sports, and something like fentanyl, where almost unanimously in the past, the Democrats have voted down every single bill that would have fought this crisis. They did nothing to shut down the borders. They did nothing to deal with the cartels. They've done nothing to deal with China except for take money from them. So in my eyes, the Democrats are 100% to blame for this entire epidemic and the destruction of our society. And I'm so glad that we have common sense back in office. Someone who will call out the insanity, say, no, you're not going to sexualize our children. No, we're not going to allow kids without their parents' knowledge to transition. No, we're not going to allow boys and girls sports. And no, we're not going to allow you to poison our children anymore. And President Trump is doing so much, and we're so grateful in our community.
The normalization of bad behavior has stopped. I mean, that's really what it is. They want to normalize all bad behavior for what it is.
Yeah, and it's just common sense. If anyone would take 2 seconds to use their brain, they go, no, this doesn't make sense. You know, I think of things like gender ideology.
I'm just going to say that too.
Yeah. If you're an adult and that's something that you want to do, okay.
Knock yourself out.
Yeah. Knock yourself out. We had that back in the day, and everybody, you know, got along. Everybody knew, you know, you don't go into bathrooms with children and get undressed in front of children. You know, we had common sense. And unless it's a virus that's spreading through people's brains, then it's a propaganda that these people are teaching. So considering this didn't happen 10 years ago, I'm not going to go with the virus. I'm going to go with propaganda. This is an agenda that they are pushing. They're literally pushing people whenever they have a problem. They, you know, talk them into this gender ideology as a solution, and that's
Oh,
what's
yeah.
happening.
Yeah, I seen it happen. A guy I'm friends with, his 17-year-old daughter went and had a surgery, and she's a guy, or he's whatever you want to call it. But it's and his through a friend of mine, his thing was, well, if I didn't go along with it, she would kill herself. How do you know that? How do you know you didn't get the right quality help to sit down and and talk to her? I mean, how many people were, when we grew up, were tomboys, girls, right? That are normal, whatever. Now today, if the girl's a tomboy, they want to make her a boy. And that's.
Yeah. I wanted to show this, but I'm going to apologize because I can't find it on my computer, but it was downloaded. But I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to show that's the vest from Born to Ride.
Oh,
George
yeah.
wanted me to show that. And I had it downloaded to put it on the screen, and I don't know what's going on, but it's not there. So I wanted to bring that up. You could talk about that.
It was such an honor that George had made a patch for my son for his life and in his memory. And I'm very grateful for it every time I see it, or every time I see it on his social media or on a vest. It really does something to my heart that you'll never imagine. It's just such an honor, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah, a lot of the guys are wearing it too. So
Thank you so much.
he rides a lot.
It's an honor to him what you're doing out there for parents too. I mean, I know like my friend Kevin, what he went through and what he's been doing. You're touching so many lives in a positive way. In this sad situation, but you're touching so many lives in a positive way, and I honestly think that's a beautiful thing. And as a parent, I really thank you for what you're doing out there, because I think you're helping a lot of people that that could have been on the fence to do something, and maybe they realize what you're saying, and it hits home. Maybe it's parents that can talk to their kids more. A lot of kids, it's tough to even talk to. They don't want to hear a parent. I mean, I know when I was younger, I thought my parents didn't know what they were talking about. The older I got, the more smarter they became. Right. So, it's wonderful what you're doing though in this tragedy.
The thing is, the fake news media doesn't even want to cover about the drug situation.
Yeah.
They'll bring it up. It's just, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's only a couple of news networks, and also the things like we got, like the Rumble, the shows and stuff like that. If we don't bring awareness to people, they ain't gonna get the control. The President Trump could only do so much, and he needs the people behind him. That's why the MAGA movement is very big, and they're very well educated with, as you said, and with the common sensibility to help out this situation.
Yeah. I am surprised at how little it is talked about. It should be talked about nightly, because 300 people die a day. That's like a jumbo jet crashing every single day. Yep. And 22 kids die a day, 22 children. And I see children as young as, 4 months old coming in, or, coming online, where a parent has lost a baby because they somehow touched the surface and then put their hand in their mouth that had fentanyl. We had a kid who brought gummy bears to school in a bag that I believe it was either his father or his brother, I don't remember the story exactly, had fentanyl pills in that bag before the kid found the Ziploc bag, opened it up, and stuck some gummy bears in it and handed it out to his friends at school. And about 6 or 7 kids felt weird. Some collapsed, some were rushed to the hospital because of fentanyl exposure, and thank God nobody died from that one. But we have 2-year-olds dying because they were near someone. We had a baby because a babysitter was smoking something that had fentanyl in it and passed it over the baby to their friend, and that smoke got to the baby, and the baby died.
Wow.
Every week we see more.
That's unbelievable.
More toddlers, more babies. Fastest growing demographic is under 14. We have 12-year-olds trying it. There's a lot of autistic children that are very prone to peer pressure. We see a high percentage in the autistic community of children being poisoned by fentanyl. ADHD is another one because they have that impulsive behavior. I believe my son was impulsive as much as he knew that he should not try this. He definitely was an impulse kid. So in a moment of peer pressure, he succumbed to it. But it's really just what's happening. I'm surprised that the media doesn't cover it more, considering how many people every day die. And as much as President Trump is doing, we have to find where they're storing it, because for months they've been preparing that if it gets shut down, multi-billion-dollar industries don't close business overnight. And may I add that they're operating on American soil, regulation-free and tax-free. And this is a business that's bigger than most companies. And these are executives that are running it. So there is a lot of fentanyl over here already that does not need to be shipped, imported over the borders, or brought over by cartel members. It's already here. So these numbers will slow down over time, but they're just going to find another creative way. So that's where so much of this, the criminalization, everything has to come in.
Well, they could control a lot of people with having them controlling under the drug situation. That's the thing. They keep them poor, keep them under the drugs, and it was done that for years. That's how they did with especially pushing the drugs into the black population. In those areas, and that's how they did it. That's how they got control, making them poor and just that, and then they'll feed off the system. They'll get the money that they'll get and everything else, and that's why the Democrats do not want to push this thing about the drugs. And also, like we said before, the fake news media doesn't want to do it at all, and they should be prosecuted for not saying what's right, the news or not. So worrying about Tesla's getting burnt and all that shit and everything else,
Yeah, you see that nightly. Meanwhile, 300 more people died last night. So, we do need more coverage, but it is true. It is about the degradation of our society. If you look at people like Mao and you study how Mao took down a society, made kids gender neutral, tell your teachers about, if your parents aren't going along with the little red book, tell your teachers are your safe haven. And I mean, we see the same thing happening in America. When you have a child who dies from fentanyl, or even like someone mentioned earlier, that kids are killing themselves with gender ideology because they're not allowing these kids to get counseling, that when they do finally kill themselves because the light comes on and they suddenly realize, I'm never going to be that. As much as I want to be, I'm never going to. And they have nothing else. And then they're suicidal because they've done things to try to change themselves into this person that they suddenly realize one day that they can never attain. Or there's deeper mental illness because that's why they tried to change it. Maybe there's sexual abuse, high percentage of sexual abuse children. They're not getting to the bottom of that anymore because they're not allowed to counsel them. It's all about the takedown of our society. I know that when my child died, our whole family fell apart. And, when you take one down, so many people that go down with them. So it's tragic and it's intentional. I truly believe, because there would be no reason that if this problem was as bad as it is, the Democrats wouldn't be right alongside of every Republican voting for every single thing that we could possibly do to stop this. They're all over gun control.
Speak of intentional, and it's funny you say about Democrats. So I live in Hamilton, New Jersey. We have a Democrat council, Democrat mayor. I'm actually running for council in my town. Anyway, and I met Bill, and Bill's a great guy, by the way, Spadia. I went to the council meeting the other night. We have 3 approved the dispensaries, the marijuana dispensaries in my town. They're not up yet, but there's 3 approved. The neighboring towns, there's already 3 of them in one town. There's 3 of them in another town. There's 3 of them in another town. They're going up all over the place in New Jersey. I'm sure you've probably seen them as well. I don't know about Trix, you in Indiana. I don't know about you, George, in Florida, but these marijuana dispensaries are going up all over the place. You drive by, you see a line around the building sometimes. It's crazy. But I went up and spoke in front of the council the other night. I asked them, how many approved licenses do you have for these? And they said, we have 3. And I said, it's 3 too many. because we shouldn't have any in our town.
Yeah.
But it's, again, it's all for what? To keep people controllable, I believe.
Yeah. And where do you think the drug dealers hang out? When a child tries to go in with a fake ID and can't get it, where do you think they hang out?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
They swarm these places, and they pick kids off, or people that maybe can't afford what they're selling. Dispensaries have been closed for fentanyl before. Dispensaries have been found with fentanyl, so that if they can make their weed pens a little bit more addictive than everybody else's, everyone's going to come to them. They're going to make millions of dollars.
It's unbelievable. You pay $150, you go see a doctor, and then you get a medical card. You get a marijuana card. There's not there's no paper saying that the person really needs it. The company that has these dispensaries has a doctor there already. So the guy just interviews you 5-10 minutes, and they give you, the card, and then you can get with your stuff.
Yep. And in many states, you don't even need a medical reason anymore. They're just dispensaries. And,
Yeah, these dispensaries are getting like liquor stores.
Yeah, recreational. They have the recreational and the medical.
And there's no FDA approval. There's no one really monitoring these. They're starting to, but there's no really big laws about it at this point. They have people coming in now testing for fentanyl. We've seen so many dispensaries getting shut down. Last year there was they found fentanyl in nicotine vapes. Same thing. Someone, a head shop was making nicotine vapes, thought they could make the nicotine a little bit more addictive. And so they put some in the vapes, and
they should put dispensaries in the schools with the Narcan in it. I got 2 on my bike. I carry around all the time.
Good for you. That's great. And you can do as many Narcans as you can, because if the person's going to die, you might as well keep trying Narcans inert. It's not going to hurt you.
I know.
Nothing to lose at that point. Yeah.
Sometimes they dose them 5 times. I mean, you can dose them as many times as needed. There's no danger in doing that. But there's also another generation coming up behind fentanyl. Nitazines, ISO, carfentanil, xylazines. There's so many other things that are 100 times stronger, 120 times stronger, 30 times stronger. And they're taking nitazines and they're lacing fentanyl with nitazines, and then they're taking that fentanyl and lacing or putting it in something. So fentanyl is actually being laced with something more powerful now. If that isn't sick, I don't know what is.
I mean, demented. Yeah, that. I didn't even know that one. That's crazy that they would even. It's like everything progresses, and it's just getting worse until they stop it.
It's a big industry. It's $150 billion industry.
Yeah. Always the money. It's always the money, and they don't care about life, and that's the sick part, and especially the Biden administration, they really didn't care. But at least, with RFK coming in and with Trump, and you got Pam Bondi and Kash Patel and stuff, maybe the prosecutions and like with the tariffs and everything will stop so much of that.
Excuse me.
Yeah. He's got all the right people. I sat next to the U.S. Marshal the other day. We had Kash Patel a couple seats down. That whole entire Justice Department is just everybody in it is just handpicked, and I know that they're going to do big things. So much better than the last administrations, where it looked like you were like going to the circus when you looked up into the Justice Department. It's just Trump's cabinet. I mean, I'm sorry, Biden's cabinet, and it was a joke. So it's so refreshing to see some serious people who want to do something serious.
Even 47's team is better than 45's team, even.
Oh yeah,
100%. So I mean, we know we're leaps and bounds above 46's team, right? But 47 versus 45 is almost night and day.
Well, that's because he had so many rhinos behind him. He had the deep state telling him what to do.
Yeah.
He trusted a lot of people, which he didn't, because like I go back into that conversation all the time about General Flynn was originally picked for his vice, but they were terrified of him. That's why they brought Pence in. There's a lot of things that they picked for Trump that he didn't want.
Sure.
He did that with what's his name, Congressman Jackson and Ronnie Jackson in
Texas, right?
Yeah. He when he was the medical doctor for President Trump. And then what happened was President Trump offered him a VA job because, you know, he was military and also a doctor. And when he went back to Kelly and he told Kelly, you know, President Trump just asked me to be the the VA administrator. And Kelly said, no, we got somebody already. Somebody okay. So the president tells a guy, but the chief of staff decides to undermine him because they're all part of the deep state. And those generals are all going to, he's a general also, they're all going to get called back from Trump because they could be reinstated. After they retire, all those generals that betrayed our country are going to be brought back and brought back and get charges.
Well, I will tell you that General Michael Flynn was sitting right there in the Department of Justice where I was sitting. And so he's very close still to the president, and he's being, invited to these very big events for the president. The Department of Justice is a big one. He's a hero. Look what they did to him.
That's why I tell everybody to see his film. That film he's got out. I'm very good friends with General Flynn. I showed the movie at biker bars, and then I had to send them the report back. He wanted me to interview people about the movie, and I had to send him the video clips back. It shows how bad the deep state is. And they're up there, if you realize, again, they brought up about the paperwork, the Crossfire hurricane, which that's what they were invaded Mar-a-Lago for, because of those papers. They were looking for those papers. It's got a lot of information, a lot of dirt. And that's why Kash Patel did. Now Kash Patel's got a direct line to the White House. He's not going through regular switchboard or whatever it is, because so people could monitor the conversation and the conversation could be in, because, you got to worry about the leaks. I mean, you got some leftovers, and then also you still got rhinos into the thing until they get all filtered out.
The left is going crazy. That Kash is on a direct line.
They're all on suicide watch as it is, and they should take the fentanyl. They should calm down.
You know what? I'm going to say something about what you just said, because the one thing that I have peace on is knowing that my son had no idea what happened. But fentanyl, and Attorney General Pam Bondi said it the other day. We have been trying for years to say that it is a weapon of mass destruction. There is a group that does experiments with powder, not fentanyl, obviously. They have done things like put it in a balloon and floated it over a crowd and popped it, like a bean in a straw, popped it over a crowd, and how far it would disperse, and knowing how deadly it is, how you could take out people, because it can be used as a weapon. Russia has already used it as a weapon. Iran has threatened to use it as a weapon. It is a weapon of mass destruction.
Correct.
But also,
chemical warfare.
It can be used as warfare, for sure. Thankfully, there is some humanity in fentanyl where people don't know what is happening to them. And that's the only saving grace that I have, because I sat in the Congressional Judiciary Committee listening to other women talk about how their kids were violently murdered. And I was thankful that my son wasn't murdered in the way that some other parents have had to go through with these open borders. But one thing I will say about what we were talking about is I have a very big faith, and yes, it was shaken for a while, but I have a strong faith in God. And I know we don't always understand why things happen, but with President Trump having to lose those 4 years, it's almost like God had to take us through to expose the plan. And we saw a debauchery those 4 years, the open borders, the insanity, the common sense that was just lost, the sexualization of children, like I talked about, this transgender just was on the rise and being celebrated, drag queen story hour, people bringing their kids to pride parades where men were naked, and, pelvic thrusting. It was so disgusting. And then for President Trump to learn who we could trust, who we couldn't, who exposed themselves as the rhinos they were, has put us to this place exactly where we are with the strongest administration and the strongest leader who has every single play and has exposed every single deep, dark secret that they had for us. And for that, sometimes we just have to have faith that this is where we're supposed to be.
Yeah, not to mention when he turned to look at the chart and got grazed. I mean, if he didn't turn, he wouldn't be here today. So it's another intervention.
Yeah, look up Ephesians 6:11.
Yeah,
that time he got shot. Put the armor of God around to protect.
Yeah, absolutely.
The devil.
When I watched that tape, that video of him with his ear getting grazed, I knew that he was going to win, and that was my confirmation that things are going to change. I knew there was no way that he was going to lose, because if that wasn't God, I don't know what it was.
I agree.
100%. Yep.
I don't mean to cut you off, but we're running up on a time deadline. So I just wanted to tell you thank you so much for coming on and sharing with us, and we really appreciate it. And our prayers are with you.
Thank you. I hope I've educated people on talking to your kids, even your adult kids. It is the number one killer, and we do need to do something about this. But thank you to everyone. George, I absolutely love you. So thank you so much for having me on. And I'm always available for a conversation when you guys would like to speak to me about fentanyl.
Awesome.
Oh, definitely. We're back. All right. Thank you very much again.
Love you too. Bye.
Thank you, Ann.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a hard hour, huh?
Yeah, that's scary.
Yeah, there's so many people that have been through it. I don't know how. Obviously, we all have children, right? But we don't know how what they're looking at, what they're going through, because we haven't gone through it. But I can only imagine, and I don't know how I would react. I don't think I'd ever probably be right again with it. But she's doing a wonderful thing now, though.
Yep.
She really is. And God bless her. God bless the work that she's doing. I know my friend Kevin is doing very similar work. It's hard.
I told Ann on election night. We were all together, and I said to her, I said, your son helped him win this election.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the pieces, without a doubt.
So, yeah, I was going to ask, do you want to do the trivia today, or do you want to do it tomorrow? Because we're running, it's like 9:58. We do it tomorrow and then give the answer tomorrow?
No, you have to do the trivia today.
All right.
So people give the answer in the chat, and then we could tell them tomorrow.
We're supposed to have our old friend Beard Vet on with us tomorrow.
Yep.
That's what we heard. Huh?
He reached out to him, or I reached out to him. He got back to me. Then I reached out to him again. I haven't heard back, so I got to try to get on that today with him.
I'll call him up and break his what I call.
You break his balls?
That's right.
Break his balls, George. Break his balls. All right. Well, I'm going to read the trivia question then, and we'll see who gets it. So, which U.S. president signed the Federal Reserve Act into law, creating the Federal Reserve System? So I'll read it again. Which U.S. president signed the Federal Reserve Act into law, creating the Federal Reserve System? And I'm watching here to see if anybody gets it. Well, I mean, we won't tell till tomorrow, but I'm waiting for guesses.
I don't see any answers yet. There must be. I don't see any answers yet. Everybody must be Googling. Jasper comes up with Woodrow Wilson.
I think everybody
who said what we got?
Jasper 9999.
Okay.
Lady Bird comes up with Nixon, which is great. Lady Bird Nixon. Remember Lady Bird
Nixon?
Yeah, right. Aunt Jana Roosevelt. Beach Cat FDR. Super Trooper Wilson. Angels Wilson. Denise Wilson. Florida Trump Wilson.
Read what Aunt Janet said. I spelled it wrong.
Merriman Wilson. Insider Wilson.
Okay, we got man
We got to
case.
have a winner in there. Yeah, we got the winner in there somewhere.
Yeah. Yep.
Loves Christ
okay.
wants the question repeated. I guess it got.
Which U.S. president signed the Federal Reserve Act into law, creating the Federal Reserve System? That's the question.
Proud says Wilson. Florida for
I
Trump. I said Florida for Trump. I said Wilson because everybody else said Wilson.
Yeah, you know what? Mark isn't here to give us shitty answers either. Remember how Mark always puts something in there?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Well, Proud American Woman said, "I'm going with Wilson because everybody else is saying it."
It's funny.
No, there's a big story.
All right.
That.
Okay, we got to close it out.
Julie said a bunch of crooks.
Yeah,
I think that's a correct answer right there.
Yeah, that's a correct answer.
I think that's a correct
That's
answer.
probably the best one, I think.
Yeah.
Boy, that was okay. So we got it closed out. So what we'll give the answer tomorrow. We got what? Frisky Friday tomorrow.
Frisky Friday,
Mark won't be here because he's in California. So it'll be us three, and if Beard Bet comes on, we'll have the four of us.
Or Mark, if Mark comes on, he'll have to be like this. I'm talking very quiet.
He said he wasn't gonna because he wants his wife. He wants to enjoy the rest of his vacation. He
She may be a little.
His wife tomorrow.
She may be a little cranky with him on Friday, right? Frisky Friday may turn into Fighting Friday for him.
Yeah. So we'll have.
He wants to have a Frisky Friday. That's why he's not going to come on.
Yeah.
All right. I hope everybody in the chat enjoyed the show. She's very important to me, and Elizabeth.
Oh, what a great!
Yeah.
I didn't realize she's from New Jersey, but you know what? My friend Kevin said she's in the DOJ group in New Jersey with him.
She was originally from California.
Yeah,
that's where she was originally from. That's where I knew her from.
But I texted my friend Kevin yesterday. I asked him if he knew her, and he says yeah, and he sent me a picture of them all somewheres, and he said that she's in the DOJ group with him in New Jersey for parents, and I didn't realize she lived in New Jersey. So interesting.
Yeah, but she's with her mom. She hangs out with her mom and stuff. You know, to take care of mom now. But
yeah,
she has other children too. But
I'd love to have a conversation with her about how they she was saying with some of these they install some of the fentanyl in some of these dispensaries to get people to come back. I'd like to chat with her about that. So
yes.
That's interesting.
All right. So we'll see you guys all tomorrow for Frisky Friday in the morning. Have your coffee, be ready to go.
Bye. Bye, Friskies.
Bye, everybody. See you tomorrow.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.
That's the end of the show.